So Mid and East Antrim Borough Council is located in the northeast of Northern Ireland. We have 400 square miles of a borough and 65 miles of coastline, and we are currently in the Lower Bann, which we manage 15 kilometres of the eastern shore. Mid and East Antrim is a mainly rural borough, but we have parts of the Ulster Way / Antrim Hills Way / International Appalachian Trail. We also have 5 beaches, 3 designated, 2 candidate beaches. We have water sports, walking, cycling, loads of attractions like the Gobbins, Carrickfergus Castle, and then this lovely Jill Portglenone where we're at here now. So if you are coming to Northern Ireland, chances are you're coming either by ferry or cruise ship into Belfast, or you could be flying in either to Belfast City or International Airport. You join our borough just north of Belfast, so from Green Island. 65 miles of coastline, part of that is Isla Magee, where we have the wonderful Gobbins Visitor Centre and the Cliff Bottom Walk. There's also a Cliff Top Walk, and the geology of this area is something very special. There's lots of history, so if you go to Isla Magee, you've got the last ever witch trials in Ireland were held in Isla Magee. Some really iconic beaches, loads of cliffs to see, and then you've got the Blackhead Lighthouse, which is just beside Whitehead, believe it or not. And there's a beautiful walk along the Blackhead Path. You can get up access to the lighthouse. You can actually stay in the lighthouse. Then you come further along, we've got Browns Bay Beach, and then you have to come back in. Isla Magee is not actually an island, there's a causeway connects it. And then you come to Larne, which you may or may not have travelled into. Once you leave Larne, you're on to the Antrim Coast Road, which is one of the top 10 driving roads in the world, not just in Europe. So you then start onto the Causeway coastal route, so you go through the iconic Black Arch, through Larne to Ballygally, a small seaside village with a lovely beach. Again, not overly full of people, quite special. If you were to go midweek, you probably wouldn't see that many people. And then all along the coast, right through Glenarm, where you've got Glenarm Castle, loads of eateries, places to go there. The lord of the estate is there 6 months in residence, so you've got Glenarm Castle. The village itself is beautiful. We've got a marina in Glenarm too. And then you continue on round to Carnlough, where you can get your dulse or dulles, depending on where you're from. A couple of really nice wee eateries at the Twilight coffee shop or the Harbour Lights restaurant. We also have a new hotel. When I say new, it's refurbished. It used to be the Londonderry Arms, part of Lady Londonderry's estate, but it's just been taken over. It will be a whisky hotel, so it's going to change to Harbour View, and we're really looking forward to that opening in the near future. And then you go to Garn Point, which is the very end of our boundary with Causeway Coast and Glens, right on the cusp of Galbally Hidden Village. And again, yes, there are a few people who go there because it's been in a lot of TV and film operations, but you don't get the throngs of people that you might see in the Mournes or some of our more popular beaches in the northwest of the country. So Carrickfergus Castle is maintained by the Department for Communities, but Council, Mid and East Antrim Borough Council have their visitor centre there. So we get lots of coaches that stop there. They do some interesting days. They've had Harry Potter days in Carrick Castle, where we've had characters dressed up as all the well-known Harry Potter figures. I myself dressed up as Professor Umbridge, and my daughter dressed up as a generic student. We had somebody as Hagrid, and that's all to drum up business to come into Carrick Castle. But when you visit Carrick, it's really important to actually cross the road from the castle. When you go across the road, if you go through Shaftesbury Park or up towards the De Courcy Shopping Centre, you'll see all the old walls that were originally part of the sort of encampment for Carrick Castle. So there's a little bit more to Carrick than just the castle. We also have the Dobbins Inn, which has been refurbished, and you can avail of a history tour with Adrian Hack, and you can have a dander and also a dine. So he will do some medieval conversation and some history talks with you, and then you can go to Dobbins and have a medieval feast. Carrickfergus is going through a refurbishment, so there's been an investment from the Levelling Up Fund from the UK. So Carrickfergus will have a new visitor centre, a new play park, the caravan park facilities will be updated as well, and we're hoping to introduce a pump or a bike track as well for the enthusiasts. There are lime kilns that you can walk past from the old quarrying days. There's an ice house which is still standing, and then you can follow the route up to the moat, and then you feel like you're leaving the Carrickfergus estate, but you're not. If you turn right, you'll join Chainwood, which is a nature reserve, and you can follow the path the whole way down into Ballygally village from there. So we have 3 marinas which have commercial, we've got static, so we've got living accommodation, so obviously there are berth holders who stay on their vessels, and we also then have the opportunity for visitors to come and moor at those pontoons as well. So we have Carrickfergus, which would be our largest asset, then further along the coast we have Glenarm, and then obviously we have the wonderful Portglenone, which is our inland marina as well. We have a smaller site at Newferry, but it wouldn't have the facilities for anybody coming along to visit, but it's obviously an opportunity for people to have a stop if they're migrating the whole way up into Lough Neagh. So Newferry would be kind of just south of Loch Beg, which is an area of special scientific interest and SAC, designated for lots of wonderful bird life, etc. And then you come further down then to ourselves here at Portglenone, and then further on down before you go into Causeway Coast and Glens. So our marinas are very, very popular. There are waiting lists, I'm led to believe, for people to come and visit, and especially during the high season. And there's a great community in the likes of Carrickfergus within the berth holders as well. So, and lots of amazing facilities down at Carrickfergus and Glenarm, and to a lesser extent here in Portglenone as well. We have a volcanic plug in our borough. We class it as Slemish Mountain, but unfortunately it's not tall or not high enough to be a mountain. We are led to believe that is where St Patrick guarded his sheep. So whenever St Patrick was enslaved in Ireland, one of the areas he was in Slemish. So there is a rock formation on the top of Slemish, which is supposedly St Patrick's seat, where he overlooked the sheep. Slemish itself is in private ownership with a number of landowners. We have a car park and toilet facilities there. There is no defined route as how to get to the top of Slemish. It's kind of go your own way, but I think the worst part about Slemish is the grass to get to the bottom of the rocks before you get to the top. But Slemish then becomes a gateway to the Antrim Hills. So if you go to visit Slemish and if you turn right once you go through the Kissing Gate, then that's the start of the Antrim Hills Way. So it's kind of like a leg off the Ulster Way, and that takes you up over Douglas Top, and it's designated as well. And every kind of round about this time, whenever the birds start to nest, I get an email from the Northern Ireland Raptor Group, and they tell me whether we've got breeding merlin in the area, because the merlin can be very defensive. So we have to divert slightly and tell people to avoid the area, more so for their safety, because the merlin will attack. So, and then you go across further, and then that brings you into the actual Antrim Hills Way. So in our borough it's about 23 kilometres, going from Glenarm the whole way over to just below Ballybowly, before it goes into Ballinure. The Lower Bann was a conduit for migration into Ireland. So they think that Mount Sandal in Coleraine, just outside Coleraine, was the first settlement. So obviously then the boats came up the Lower Bann, and then came into Lough Neagh, and Portglenone would have been quite important at that time. So we have information that there used to be ancient woodland, and Portglenone would have been kind of the cusp at the end of the ancient woodland, which would have came from Lough Neagh across. You've got Portglenone Forest, which is a Forest Service Northern Ireland site, and in between the marina and Portglenone Forest you have the Abbey, the Bethlehem Abbey. So we have a few monks still in residence there. There is a tea rooms there, there is a small trail walk you can do as well, and then there's also a gift shop, and then also a shop related to the Catholic religions. We are a hidden gem. I walked 5 miles on the Antrim Hills on Friday on a glorious day like today and met 2 people, which is lovely. So if you want to go somewhere where you're not in with the throngs and not too crowded, then Mid East Antrim's the place to be.